What's up, y'all? Keith Dykes here with W.K.D. Construction. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, thanks for stopping by. You can always hit that subscribe button, man, and come back. Check us out all the time. So let's go build something.
Yo, what it do, everybody? Welcome back to the next part in the Dykes Home series. On today's video, we are going to get started installing some ceiling joists and rafters. We are going to be framing the top section over. We're concentrating on kind of this whole right side wing right here. So we're going to get into stringing walls, plumbing walls, kind of laying out our framing, ceiling joists, some girders, hips, ridge pole, and gable framing. So I've been in the business for a long time. I've done this, I think I went into business for myself in 1997. I graduated in 1994, worked with my stepbrother for a few years, kind of learned a little bit of everything. We did a little bit of everything. And I went on my own in 1997. Worked for a while, got my contractor's license in 06, and I have been a state licensed contractor since 06, and just getting at it ever since. So we're going to talk about a lot about framing and the way I do things. I am not a, if you've been watching my channel, you know that we do everything. So I'm not specifically a framer, I'm not specifically a trim guy, I'm not specifically a tile guy, but I have learned over the years how to do everything, all of those things, I think pretty efficiently. And I think that makes me a better builder than pretty much anybody in my surroundings, just because I'm so versatile. And I think a person needs to know all those things to be able to be a better builder, to put everything together, because you know the next step that's coming. Okay, so I may do some framing different than people that frame every single day. So I'm just putting that out there in case I have a little negativity in the comments. I do get that from time to time, but it's just kind of how I learned. I learned from a guy that was not a framer either. You know, it's just kind of, we don't have that here in our region. We're not like, there's no production builders here and where I live within, I mean, you're gonna have to travel an hour to be a production builder. So those are just, you know, framers. Those are just drywallers. A lot of people in my area are kind of like me. They kind of do a wide variety of stuff. So I worked with, like I said, my stepbrother, kind of worked with a couple other guys, and you pick up stuff from here and there. You can put in a toilet and 10 people's going to do it different. So I kind of picked up a few things from here and there and kind of applied it to what I thought was best. So in the video, we're going to get into the ways I do things, which in my head, they work great, which they do. I have great results. There's pretty much, you know, the end result, and how you get there is on your own accord. And I think I do that. I think I do it pretty well. So we're going to get to showing you my method.
Right here. Yeah. More. In a little bit. You might have to. No more? Yeah, right there. So checking the plumb of our walls, we use the laser I do have the stability plate level, so we're just going back and checking with the laser. It seems a little be a little more accurate. So we're just measuring out 3 inches on the wall, hold 3 inches at the top, and your level is good to go. We'll get this leveled, that plumbed, and then we'll string the back end and make sure we're plumbing the middle here too.
Yeah, come back on me.
Come back up.
Keep going. About a quarter. Oh, Lord. Put in the quarter.
What's your string size? Same thing?
At least an 8 plus.
All right, keep going.
About what you got.
Hey, go down on the end. Don't be rifling my sticker, man.
Just a medic 5,000.
It does better if you do in the bottom, because if you get in the middle, it'll kind of make it bow. All right, so we've got our walls strung. See, we got a gauge block in there. Got all them nice and straight. And now we are preparing to put the ceiling joist in. We're gonna have to do a beam all the way across with 2x8s, like a girder. We'll tie our ceiling joist into it, joist hanger those, and then we're gonna build, this is gonna be a hip, so we're trying to get this all laid out. Hip is pretty easy to do. So it's very stout, so I'm gonna start, instead of starting on that side on the gable, we're going to start on this hip, because the hip can kind of support itself, and then we'll work our way that way. We had a little Humpty Dumpty in the floor, in the concrete, so we chalked the line on that and just taking a planer and getting it down to where the ceiling joist will be. That way we won't have to fool with it later. Be a better, that way it'd be ideal. Our beam can set on it, and then of course all our dead wood and everything too. I'll give you a little peek from up here. All right, so we've got a girder that goes across and supports all of our 2x6 ceiling joist. And then on the outside, we will do some small blocking to allow for our ceiling joist on that side and on that side. And then we'll come back and we'll be, that beside every ceiling joist will be our rafter. So our rafter will sit beside each ceiling joist and get tied into the side of it. So to find the location of my center rafter, I always find the center rafter first. So I will find the entire run from out of the wall. I got 26'4", so I measured 13'2" to the very center, and then I subtracted 3/4. I burned 3/4 of an inch on each side for the thickness of my rafter. So once I establish where my center rafter, which will also be my ridge pole, I can lay everything else out from there. So on all my hips, I find center, work each way on each side. That way it kind of keeps it, you know, everything's centered. For me, I don't know, there may be other ways other people do it, but that's just the way I do it. I've always done it, kind of the way somebody showed me. And then we'll come back and then we lay out on the left side and the right side the same exact way. So once we get those main 3 rafters installed, then I will have something to pull my rafters off the rest of the way. All my wall framing is on 16-inch centers, but I just always done my roof. I've always done my roof system on 2-foot centers. I've never had any issues with it. I will be using 5/8" zip roof, so that makes a big difference. I wouldn't put no 7/16 or 1/2 inch on a 2-foot span, but I always do 5/8" decking. It's really stiff. And like I said, I've never had any issues. A lot of times you go to these different places, you can see sheets of plywood underneath the shingles. I've never had that. Okay, so I don't know. That 5/8" zip is really stiff, and it spans 2 foot perfectly. There's no issue. It's not substandard. I'm not trying to cut corners. It's just, I don't know. That's just the way I kind of guy showed me, and
I've always done it, and I've never had any issues. So 2 foot on your roof stuff, and drywall and your ceiling stuff. It's fine too. Drywall spans it. It's no big deal. You don't have to use 5/8 on your drywall on your ceilings. You can just go with 1/2 inch. No big deal. Never had any issues. I don't know how much work we'll get done today. It's supposed to start raining here in a little bit, but if I can get over there, we are making a hog's trough on our ceiling joist. I think I felt the spring. But your hog's trough is a 2x4 screwed down flat, and then you take a 2x6 and run it edgewise, and that gives the ceiling joist a little more strength. We're only spanning like 13 feet, but I like to do that. Keeps everything on layout and helps stiffen it up, because we are going to build basically a plywood platform up top, put scaffolding on and everything. So we need that extra support to be able to hold our weight too. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. That's D Nice. Dennis Rogers, Roger. It is rafter day. We're gonna start on this hip. So I got 3 rafters cut, and we're gonna make sure they fit, and then I'll explain how I came up with the lengths that I need. Well, got the forklift set up, and we got our 3 main rafters up. Everything fits really good. So we're getting ready to put the hips in. We'll cut the hips, put them in, and then we'll do all of our little jack rafters and all that good stuff. But how I come to find my length on all that stuff, of course, Johnson or Irwin maybe sells a little rafter book. I had maybe a Johnson rafter book for years. Tells you your run, and then give you the pitch, and then just little tables everywhere. Does really good. But the best thing, like I've said it before, is this app, the Construction Master Pro app. Or if you have the calculator, I used to have the calculator, but then you got to carry a calculator in your phone. So I just got the app. App works really well. Use it for everything. So here's what I'm looking at. My custom tablet right here. My whole width of my back of the bedroom is 26'4". That is the whole span. You divide that in 2, because we're doing a hip and you're doing a rafter. Everything needs to run down the middle. That gives me a 13'2" run. That is 26'4" divided in half. All right, but then you get your ridge pole. That's 1.5 inches. Unless you go to 1 3/4 with an LVL, then you'll subtract a little different. But if you're using an 1.5 inch ridge pole, you're going to subtract 3/4 inch for each side. That gives you your 1.5 inch ridge pole. So that gives me 13 foot 1 1/4 inches. That is my run length of my rafter. Okay, so all I have to do is go into my Construction Master Pro, put 13 foot 1 inch 1/4, put it in run. We're going to do a 12-inch pitch, 45-degree angle. So you put 12-inch pitch in there, and that will automatically give me the rise, the run, the diagonal, and that comes to an 18'6" 3/8 inch rafter from your long point to your top edge here. So I'll have this cut, and then I'll have my plumb cut down to my seat cut. My seat cut and the plumb cut, of course, is going to be 45-degree angle since it's a 12 pitch roof. I want to leave a 3.5 inch, basically a seat height, I guess. You can measure plumb wise, which would be, I think it's 5 1/4, but I usually just pick a measurement and measure square. So this case, it's going to be 3.5 inches that we got meat left right there. So, and this is going to be a little different. I'm going to try to do a little Monopoly framing. I've been watching Matt Risinger. So I think I'm wanting to bring all of
my sidewall sheathing up to where it meets at the roof decking, and then I can seal that and air seal that whole thing off. I'm just trying to do a better job at air sealing. I am going to have foam insulation, but that doesn't necessarily going to 100%. It can pull away from the wood over time. So what I've seen his videos, he makes sure that all of his soffits and that area gets air sealed too. I have not been doing that, so I'm going to change my method, and we're probably just going to run the sheathing up to where it meets the roof decking, and then add on the rafter tails after the fact, I think. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. So anyhow, I cut those 3 boards, three rafters. We're good to go. They give me the length of our hip rafters, and I'm going to cut those 2, and we'll get a string and be good to go. So there I have 13-foot 1 1/4 inch run. Hopefully you can see that. So then I go to rise. Of course, it's the same thing. Run diagonal, 18-foot 6, 3/8, and then the hip and valley, 22-foot 8 3/8. So pretty neat. There's a lot. It tells you everything you need to know with this app. Pretty good app. Hip installation went perfectly. I don't have my dang remote. I couldn't turn the camera on and be up there at the top either, so I was in a pickle. But yeah, my Construction Master Pro app told me the exact length of my hip rafters, and put those in. They work great. So now we've got a string on the hip, on each hip, and down the center of each rafter, and we'll string those, brace them off, get them straight, and then we'll jack them up to where they need to. I got a hog's trough for support. We'll put a stiff leg underneath the hip rafter or the rafter in general, and get it where it needs to go. Then we can lay out all of our other jack rafters. Let's get up. No gappies. We don't want any gaps in there. I'll get up here and show you the string. And move it whenever you pulled it up.
Yeah.
So we're just taking and using the brace to get this tip straight. It's a thing of beauty. So this is just in there temporarily as we're getting the hip all put together.
You see us using a lot of screws. We use the impacts with screws probably 80% of the time. A lot of times we may screw some stuff together, tack it off, and if we need to adjust it, it's way easier than trying to dig out nails. But then we will go back and we will put nails in as well. I don't know, we've started using screws several years ago. It's not really I'm not in a race. It's not a time factor for me. I just kind of I feel it is a little better connection with screws and nails. So that's why we use a lot of screws is sometimes you have to move stuff, and before we permanently attach it, we have the ability to remove it and fix it.
Doing my jacks. Check this out. Thor Vald mechanical pencil. Steve bought this for us for Christmas. So far I like them pretty good. They look like a mechanical pencil, but got a good fat lead. Check this out. Take this off. My cap broke off, but I got a little pencil sharpener in there. seems to be holding up very good. The lead works really good. So now I got a pretty decently sharp pencil. I think you got an Amazon. I'll find out and I'll put a link. But these are, I like these. They're pretty good. Well, that makes a difference. We're putting blood into it, you know what I mean? Veins are filling up with blood. It's starting to come to life. Exciting time, so. We'll do a little more if I can, hopefully I can find my dang remote and be able to mic up and talk while we're kind of working a little bit. It's kind of a busy, hectic day. It's kind of running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So I didn't do a whole lot of filming, but we'll do some more. If I ever get to where I start framing something, a roof system, I always try to pick the hip just because it's the strongest. I mean, it naturally just kind of holds itself together. So if you get the hip done, then you can go and start running your long runs and everything will stay supported off it, because it's very important. I mean, we're almost 14 feet tall. You're not braced correctly, a wind comes up, your guys are up there. I mean, they can go like dominoes, just like, I've never had it happen. I've never seen it personally, but I mean, you've seen videos and stuff that it can. But yeah, you get something that high up in the air, that much weight, it doesn't take much to make it fall. So I always go with the hip. It is stout as hell. So we've got this main rafter. It is strung, it is straight. We've got the hip straight. Of course, we've got the backside on, but we are pulling layout. So to cut the length of our jack rafters, we will just measure from the peak on our layout on our hip down to the outside of the plate. I know that's a little different. You can use your rafter to give you the formula to cut your jack rafters, but everything has to be perfect. You know what I mean? It's got to be, that is an ideal 90-degree corner. Everything has to be right on for those to work. So I will always pull my layout on the ridge, no matter what, or on the hip rather. And then we measure from the very point of the seat cut to the top of the rafter, the long point. So I'll show you, once they give me the measurement, I'll kind of show you how I do that right here and put it to the board very easy. Like I said, I've kind of learned over the years. I mean, stuff happens. You can't keep that 20-foot long, 25-foot long board super straight. And if you just start cutting all of them, I mean, some people might, I don't know. I mean, I don't, I just never have. It just seems like if I did, started cutting all the rafters down here and then just throwing them up, some stuff gets off a little bit here and there. It's easier just to, in my opinion, just to measure each board and cut it. We got
87 and an 8.
87 and 1/8. So here's the long point. Hook on the long point, find 87 and 1/8. which is right here. You see that? Okay, so take 87 1/8 and then just pivot it. That way you're measuring from there to the seat cut. And then I grab my little patty, it's got a plumb side, and just put my point, to that mark. And now we're ready to cut. We're building a ridge pole brace. We're going to go ahead, find center, screw it up there, kind of brace it to where it's kind of where it's supposed to be. Do some diagonal bracing on it, just kind of hold it for right now. And then we're going to set the ridge pole up on top of it, and then we can kind of laser, which actually I took the laser and set it up on top to see if I had a little rise. I had about the slab had about a 1/4 inch rise, so I tried to make that brace a 1/4 inch shorter on this side, so that way our ridge pole will be straight, which our rafters, once we start raftering, it's gonna do what it's supposed to do. So but that kind of helps you out, gets you really close to where you're supposed to be. Just use your laser, and if you get a hump in the concrete, you'll find it and you can adjust to that.
So that when you drop it in,
Yeah.
make up their money with you.
Yeah. I can't give you no 10%, man. That ain't how
So we got a rafter making factory. I just kind of do them individually. I know you can make a pattern, but I'm by myself. It's kind of awkward trying to handle a 2x8 that long with everything on it. So I'll just cut a 45 on the end, measure it, and then I got a little pattern at the end just to do my tail. So I measure each one. It's no big deal. It's not a. If I had another guy, we could do, you know, 2 guys, lay it out a little easier since it's almost 19 feet long. It's a gnarly one.
Yeah, but your wife, that's what I hit him with. Where's the woman of the house at? Yeah. Talk to her. You talked that lady that we last week. She's so much nicer than you. Really? Apparently you did good done I think Markiplier's got 30 or 40 million subscribers. He makes, what if they made $100,000 a day? We need that. So maybe we'll be no. I'm going to turn around and do that too. Oh, yeah. Way short.
He's wrong.
Measure, see what I got.
I had to span, well, I had an LVL long enough to brace over the top of a wall, and then we had to put about a 10.5-foot section of ridge pole in there, that way I can span from wall to wall. And then I've got a 24-foot LVL that'll go the rest of the way. So we just kind of had to put a little small piece in the middle, like I said, 10'3", I think. But that way we can get a support, actually support underneath the ridge, which will be inside of our wall somewhere, you know. And it won't be out in the middle of nowhere. We can actually use it as a structural support and be in the wall too. And then we're just scabbing each side. I used some LVL, planed it down to 1.5 inches, and using it as a scab. We got a 4-foot scab, and then we'll go back on our layout. So in the morning, we should be able to get nearly all this garage side whooped, or tomorrow. We got a dormer on the front side in Macy's room back there. We're gonna do about a 12-foot long dormer with a shed roof on top of it, which we will put standing seam metal on. I think the majority of the house. We may do shingles. I don't know. I've really been looking at when we went to the IBS show, was looking at the Euro Shield, I think, the recycled tire. Looks like a slate. Man, it is pretty, man. It is nice. But I don't know if I can swing $400 a square. I might could, but I don't know. That's tough. I got a lot of squares to put on this roof, so I don't know. We may just go shingles. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But we do have a dormer with a shed roof. We'll have standing seam metal on that, and we got a couple dormers on the front and the porch and stuff that we will use the standing seam metal. So I'm excited. I'm getting excited. I think Macy's going to have pretty good sized bedroom, pretty good sized bathroom in there. Even though it is up in the little bonus room, but I think there's plenty of room. There's your brace. Need a center mark right there where the chalk line's at. Center. 3/4. Huh? No. We chalked a line for the center of the building where the ridge pole is going to go. That way we know the location of the center stud out there. We're going to put a center stud, put a bottom plate on that will hold the ridge pole up. That will stay in the wall. We will stick frame the end wall, the gable wall. I always like to do that instead of trying to, just easier. We'll notch out the studs, put them right to the rafter. Not necessarily have a top plate. Just use the rafter as your structural part. Your structural top plate, I guess, would be what it's going to be.
Probably put that. Yeah, probably do that. That way, can just go with that stuff.
Push it out, Steve. Keep going. Somewhere in there. You're still not down. Push it out. There you go.
Should be right to back. Right there. You're pretty close. Oh.
Yeah.
Right there.
Good.
Well, now we've got a place to measure from, which we're just going to stick the whole beam up in there. Put it on the forklift and set it up.
Which side you? I don't care, Steve. Don't
gotta get to him.
Definitely the easiest way to get lumber to the top. So Jimmy took the laser and set it over here and measured across. Steve measured up and make sure it's level. Perfectly level. I had to do a little come along, and our ridge pole was out just a little bit, and I needed to get the rafter over about 3/16, so we put the lift up there. And put the come along on it, pulled it over. That way Brent could have his rafters flush, since this side is our constant. The power of the forklift. Oh, got all the rafters on. So we got a dormer. It's gotta have three windows on it. We're gonna stand that wall. We'll get it braced up, and then figure out where I want to bring the ridge, the rafters into there. How high I want it. I don't think I want it to go all the way to the ridge. So we'll jump on that and get a basically a girder across there that we can tie our ceiling joist into. We got a little gable over here. So the front's got two little gables on there. Make sure you don't hit.
Yeah, it's probably going to. Oh yeah. Hold on. Keep it right on the line.
Y'all, the house is coming together. I love this part. It's so exciting. Kind of putting life into the house. You really take shape, as you can see. Oh yes, sir. Beautiful. But now we've got a lot of stringing. We'll have to get our knee walls, get all the rafters braced. So we've got to string everything, make sure everything's nice and flat, braced properly. I don't know if we'll get onto this little dormer tomorrow. It's supposed to rain, but we will get the rafters on that, get that all tied in, stud up the front wall there. And that'll make a big difference too. And then we'll probably go ahead and get the zip wall, go ahead and sheathe this whole part of the house, and then maybe even go ahead and deck it before we start framing over there. But man, I'm looking good. So I had a guy on my Instagram story the other day ask a question, pretty good question. I said, you know, I was gonna have a hip on the back, but he's like, why didn't you put a gable on the back versus, you know, having, since we got a gable on the front, why don't we put one on the back? Well, it's on the back. I don't need the gable on the back, and probably what it boils down to is cost savings. Pretty significant cost savings. Just right off the top of my head, I'm gonna say 50% savings just to do a hip. On a hip, you're just putting shingles on it, so you're not having to pay for all the pretty stuff like on a gable. You're gonna have windows, you're gonna have siding or your brick or whatever. Then you've got fascia, you've got soffit. So there's a lot more involved with a gable. You know, you got to have the pretty stuff, so of course it's going to cost more. On a hip, you're just paying for shingles basically. I mean, once you get the framing done, but so it could well be it could even be more than 50%. It could maybe be 80%, depending on what you put on the exterior of your house. You get into, if you did a solid brick, I mean, by the time you bought the brick, the extra labor, because they're going to charge you more for being up so high. If you coin the coin, you know, I mean, it can get up pretty quick. If you're gonna do anything fancy on a gable, you usually do.
Well, this morning we are going to stud up this Gable. We're going to be using 2x6s as our studs. And instead of running a plate on the bottom side of the rafter, I just notch it. So we've laid everything out to make our studs in line with our wall studs. Of course, you want your studs in the Gable to match the ones on the wall. That way your sheathing can go all the way up and you're not having to change any kind of layout or anything on top. So make sure everything lines up. We got the center stud, or you can use a laser. You can use a laser and check it every now and again. Make sure you're still perfectly plumb. But all we have to do is measure down and up to that layout point on the top, on the rafter. And Brent knows the measurement, say it's 120. I will cut a 45-degree angle and we'll notch it out 1.5 inches and add about 6 inches to the length of the stud. And it goes up past, then he can face screw it through the rafter, and it makes a really strong, tight connection there without having to, like I said, use another plate. It's really not necessary. And then we can go on the back, on the inside of it later on as deadwood, and fasten right to the top of the joist with a 2x4 or 2x2 or whatever. And then when they foam it, they can actually get all up in, in behind that wall and that whole wall cavity. So we've been doing that a long time. It works really well. So I'll show you what I'm talking about on notching the stud. So here is my long point, which is 132 3/4 shy. It's going to be 45-degree angle because my roof pitch is 12-12. I added 6 inches to the length, so we'll cut the length right there. So this fits directly underneath the rafter. So you can mark it your 1.5 inches, but most saws are 1.5 inches from the guide to the saw blade. So just a little something if you didn't know. That's probably your best option, is to laser up each one, because if you don't have your stud that you're pulling off of exactly plumb, super straight, you're going to be off. So we'll just laser every one and we know it's going to be right. So now after we get our ceiling determined, then all I have to do is chalk a line and screw a 2x2 to the wall, or 2x4, whatever, and then foam. Like I said, you can go foam in here, foam that whole wall cavity there.
71.5 long.
Let's jump in on this cost savings between a Gable and a hip. So we'll just take a little peek just right here real fast. So you can see all of the extra stuff that you're gonna have on a Gable. Just on this, we've got a rain screen in behind our James Hardy. We've got all the James Hardy. You're gonna have freeze board. We've got windows, we got fascia, you know, a brick. It all adds up, and all the pretty stuff, like I said, costs money, costs a lot of money. So if you're on the back on a hip, you know, it's just shingles. Everybody gets done quicker. It's you know, no frills. It's just a roof. So a lot of times you will see hips on the back side of houses, unless you live in a neighborhood that may, you know, back up to each other. But I can't see any neighbors. I don't have any neighbors on the back side. Probably never will, since I own all that land behind there. But you know, I'm just going to be the only one looking at it, and it's still a hip looks fine. That is the only hip on the house, I believe, is on the back side. So I got a Gable on that end. But so if you're looking to save some money, or not necessarily save money, but help with your budget, a hip does really well. All right, y'all, that was it. That was my video on how we installed our ceiling joists, rafters, gable framing, and as you can see, it looks pretty good. I'm really tickled with it. It looks really good. So once again, I'm Keith Dykes. Thanks for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day.